Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rokah HaKodash, and double honors to the elders and bishops of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and salutations to the beloved prophets and brothers continue to exhort the sheep in these last days, and a mighty shalom to the hopeful elect listening in, to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, shalom and shalom. The title of this epistle is going to be entitled, Depart, for this is not your rest. It is time to separate yourself, spiritually and or otherwise, physically, from anything that is bound you to this place, this land of our captivity. For this is not our rest. For judgments are nigh. They are on the horizons. They are being pulled out. We can see all the prophetic things that are written therein happening in the world as it is right now in real time. There is uprising of the peoples. They are escalating and are forever rising. It is high time for our people to wake up out of sleep, to be drawn back to the true power, which is Yahweh or Yahweh Shai, the only one who is able to redeem you and save you from the lands of your captivities, and where you were dispatched and dispersed and exiled from the land of your nativity. For the time is high time to wake up out of sleep and draw back to your power. It is time to separate. This is not your rest. This is not your home. You do not want to be cast into the lake of fire and be subjected to the wrath of Yahweh or Yahweh Shai when these judgments are poured out in full measure. For the Most High Yahweh power did not come to save the entire world, but is come to redeem the house of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, to wake up out of sleep. So let's go into Matthew chapter 10. Matthew chapter 10, and we'll read verse 34. It reads, "Think not that," this is the Messiah speaking. It says, "Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I am not come to send peace, but a sword." He is dividing the wheat from the tares, the sheep from the goat, his people from the rest of the heathens and where they were scattered. And he is separating the 1/3, the remnant that he's going to redeem and save, from the 2/3 that reject and rebel and mock and scoff at the messengers of Yahweh or Yahweh Shai. He is coming to divide, to separate, to conquer, and he's not come to send peace but a sword. This is the message of what the Messiah has proclaimed, and this is why they hated him and separated themselves from him. They called him all manner of wickedness and Beelzebub, and said he had the devils, but he has come to send send a sword at variance, mother against daughter, father against son, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, sifting the house of Israel and preserving the 1/3 remnant. For this is not your rest. This is not your home. We are told in the scriptures not to develop ourselves, but to separate ourselves. For those that love the world and anything that is in it is enmity against the Most High Yahweh, our power. For our departure is near. Our departure and escape draws nearer and nearer. Let's go into the mighty book of Amos. Micah chapter 2 verse 10. Micah chapter 2 verse 10. "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction. This land in the west, it is sorely polluted. It is defiled underneath of the inhabitants there is, and much bloodshed was made in the development of this wicked empire. And it is the time of sifting and a separation from the wheat and tares, the hopeful remnant that will be redeemed, and the rest will be discarded and not preserved. This is what is written. For now it is high time, for this is not your rest. This is not the land of your nativity. You were brought here to serve out your punishments and to witness the mighty hand of Yahweh or Yahweh Shai and his power to redeem you from all said perils. This is going to be part of your testimony. Those that are still remaining to see these things come to pass. He is going to stretch out his arm and save those. This is not the land of your nativity. It is high time to separate from the heathens and draw back to those that be like thee, to be redeemed, to be saved of the 12 tribes of Israel. Let's go into Jeremiah chapter 35. Chapter 35, the book of Jeremiah. And it reads from verse 7. Neither shall you build nor sow seed, nor plant vineyard, nor have any, but all your days you shall dwell in tents. This is talking about the Israelites. The Israelites, the children of Yasharallah, are to be a very nomadic people, for we are strangers in the earth and foreigners here in the land of our captivity. This is not our place of home and a place of rest. He says, neither shall ye build houses nor sow seed. This is coming to the end of your captivity. This is why this verse is being brought out. Neither shall ye build house nor sow seed nor plant vineyard nor have any, but all your days ye shall dwell in tents, that ye may live many days in the land where ye be strangers. We are strangers in a strange land. We fall underneath of the curses found in Deuteronomy chapter 28, where he says he was going to scatter the dispersed of the nation of Israel throughout the four corners of the earth. The one third had a sword chasing them down for the iniquities of our forefathers. But he has always left a remnant seed in the earth, and the 2/3 of Israel that rebelled and went about to establish their own righteousness and took on the customs of the heathens, they are going to be destroyed. We can see the prophetic things that are spoken out in the scriptures coming to life and are playing a monumental role in the redemption of the children of Israel. For now it is high time for you to wake up out of sleep and to be drawn back to your true power, which is Yahweh Shai, right? So let's go into Jeremiah chapter 24 and verse 9. Jeremiah chapter 24 and verse 9. He says, and I will deliver them to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt, to be a reproach and a proverb, a taunt and a curse in all the places whither I shall drive them. Right. This is pertaining those that are in the lands of their captivities, dispersed from the land of Jerusalem, Mount Zion, the land of their nativity. It is being, as of right now, trodden down by the Gentiles. There is all kinds of wickedness being done in that land. It is truly polluted, and he is going to cleanse the land with fire. He's going to send fire upon the earth, for he has sent a sword to divide the sheep from the goats, the righteous from the unrighteous, those that keep his laws, statutes, and commands to the best of their abilities and are practicing them out in the lands of drawing waters. You are rehearsing the righteous acts of our forefathers and our foremothers, keeping the Sabbath day holy and in showing observance to all his moedims found in Leviticus chapter 23 and Exodus chapter 12 and throughout multiple different parts of the scriptures, right? Let's go into Jeremiah chapter 30. Jeremiah chapter 30 and grab verse 11. He says, for I am with thee, saith Yahweh power, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations. He's going to bring total destruction and bring all nations down to their knees for the salvation of the children of Israel, because they have put their hands on the apple of his eye. For I am with thee, saith Yahweh power, to save thee, though I make a full end of all nations, whether I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. What's he talking about? He says judgment first must begin at the house of the Lord first. His judgment's going to come to the Israelites first. He's going to preserve and put a mark on the 1/3 that are going to be passed over in the times of judgment. The 2/3 are going to be rejected and destroyed by the hands of all the heathen nations. And then he's going to bring down all the other heathen nations. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 17 and 18 says, for the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of God, at the house of the Most High Yahweh. And if it first begin at us, what shall be the end of them that obey not the gospel of the Most High? And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? The ungodly are the 2/3 of the house of Israel that reject and mocked and scoffed at the prophets, and went about to establish their own righteousness, and sought out wayward doctrine, those that had itchy ears, and reaped up to them teachers, unprofitable teachers and unprofitable prophets. Right? Let's go into Leviticus chapter 26. It's time to separate from your enemies. He says, be ye holy and set apart, sanctified. Sanctified is a separation from the unholy. He says, do not touch the unclean thing. This is a severe thing. This is a severe judgment. You do not want to take this lightly. The word of the Most High Yahweh power, it's not a message of peace and safety like your enemies like to proclaim, but is a message of war and destruction and much bloodshed. This is what is written in the truth of the Gospels. This is a true report. We're going to Leviticus chapter 26. Leviticus chapter 26. Man. Come on. Leviticus chapter 26, starting from verse 42. It says, no, let's start at verse 40. Leviticus chapter 26 and verse 40. It says, if they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers with their trespass, which they trespass against me, and that also they walk contrary unto me. We must identify where our forefathers have went off in the scriptures. This is our history book of our nation. And our nation of forefathers and foremothers have went astray and went and sought out other deities and other things that was not fulfilling, and separated themselves from the true power and went astray. And they were taught throughout the generational seed lines. But this generation, the righteous seed, is going to stand up and cry out to our Father and seek repentance and forgiveness. Right? He says, if they shall confess their iniquity and their iniquity of their forefathers with their trespass, which they trespass against me, and that also they walk contrary unto me, and that I also have walked contrary unto them, and have brought them into the land of their enemies. If then their uncircumcised hearts be humbled, and they then accept of the punishment of their iniquity, then I will remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham, and also remember that I will remember the land. This is what the Father, Abanawa Yahweh, is bringing to remembrance, that covenant that he had made with our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that Shemitic bloodline. That blessing was always placed upon the children of Israel. It was not placed upon any other nation of people on the entire earth, but it has always been Yahweh's apple of his eye, that Jacob, the promised seed, was going to arise in power. Then I will remember the covenant of Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and also the covenant with Abraham, and I will remember the land. Right? We are dispersed. This is not the land. This is not your promised land. This land is truly defiled and has to be cleansed with fire. Verse 43, the land also shall be left of them, and shall enjoy her Sabbaths, while she lie desolate without them, and they shall accept of the punishment of their iniquity, because they despise my judgments. Right? Our forefathers did not keep any of his law, statutes, and commandments to keep everything in proper order and established in righteousness, but went astray. And through our fall, other nations came to power and took us as tributaries to build up their kingdoms, and have utterly destroyed us as a people. But the Most High Yahweh power has it in his mind to reestablish us and to bring us back into the land of our nativity, and to rescue us out of the dispersed of all these countries. So now it's high time for you to separate from these heathens and the heathen customs and the heathen mindset. Continuing on in Leviticus chapter 26, I think mid verse, it says, and they shall accept of the punishment of their iniquity, because they despise my judgments, and because their soul abhorred my statutes. They thought it was a heavy burden to continue in keeping the law, statutes, and commands. But the Messiah said that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. It is a light thing for you to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, and teach them to our children, for this is their heritage, to be a light unto the Gentiles, to establish righteousness and put everything back in its proper order. Leviticus chapter 26 and verse 44. And yet, for all that, when they be in the land of their enemies, I will not cast them away, neither will I abhor them, to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them. He is a man of his word. He's going to keep his word. For I am Yahweh, their power, and I will not forsake, and will, for their sakes, remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the heathen. The heathens watched our forefathers leave, no more in captivities. They put down the laborious work, and they cried out to our Father, and he heard their cry from heaven, and they turned from their iniquities and repented properly, and he remembered them, and then the Most High put forth judgments and plagues for Pharaoh to let go of his people. The same thing is going to be evidently shown in the earth today. All the heathen nations are going to come down and be confounded. Verse 45 of Leviticus chapter 26, but I will not forsake, but I will for their sakes remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the heathen. He did not save the heathens back then. He's not going to save the heathens now. That I might be their power, and I am Yahweh. These are the statutes and the judgments and laws which Yahweh hath made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moses. Right? They said everything that he has said, we will do. We will keep his ways. And we see through time that they fell out of that promise and broken the vows. But this generation, the covenant is back in our favor, and it is high time for you to separate from these heathen nations. Right? Let's go into Zechariah. Zechariah, verse 2 and verse 8. He says, for thus saith the high power of the hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that touches you toucheth the apple of his eye. For behold, I will shake mine hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants. And ye shall know that Yahweh of hosts hath sent me. Right, the message is gone forth, and it is high time for our people to wake up out of sleep, to separate themselves from the heathens and the customs of the heathens, so that way they do not partake in their iniquities and be destroyed. Right? That's also that's also read in Revelation chapter 18. Revelation chapter 18 verse 3. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Who is her? The great whore of Babylon, Esau, Edom. Right? He has made doctrines and pacts with other nations to establish his own power and rulership in the earth, and they have also partaken of drinking of that wine of fornication through false philosophies and all wayward doctrines, and have put their hands on the apple of the Most High Yahweh's power people. Right? He says, for all the nation have drunken of the wine of her wrath of her fornication, and all the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have waxen rich through her abundance and her delicacies. Right? They made a strong economic power off the back and of the slaves of Abanawahawa's people. In verse 4, he says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. He's going to send severe judgments. Famine of the word, in which you will not be able to find the truth of the gospel to receive salvation. You're going to be given up to your own wayward doctrines and philosophies. That's not going to be able to redeem you. Your what you say and what you believe in is not going to be anything that the children of Israel, the elect, are going to be able to identify with. You're going to be in mixed drunk wine philosophies. So it's high time for you to wake up out of sleep and separate from those that are teaching you these things, right? Because they're going to lead you into condemnation and utter destruction. This is what the word says. Let's go into Ecclesiasticus, the Apocrypha, also known as the Book of Sirach. And we'll go to chapter 27 and verse 12. And it reads, if thou be among the discreet, observe the time, but be continually among men of understanding. So as we wait upon Yahweh or Yahweh Shai, be mindful to be discreet and observe how much time you're spending with those that are not in the know. But do what you have to, because you're still working here while we wait for redemption. You still have to live in maybe a home that are those that are still in gross darkness, right? So he says to be very mindful. If thou be among the indiscreet, observe the time. So he comes to send a sword. This message is a message of separation. It's not a message of unification with everyone for the sake of peace, but you must seek out those that be like thee, men of understanding, that are eating the bread of wisdom, drinking that living water that is able to refresh you and bring you into the acknowledgement of the scriptures, right? This is what the word says. This is what he says. Let's go into, we'll stay in the book of Sirach, also Ecclesiasticus chapter 6, and we'll grab verse 13. It reads, where we at? Am I in the right? No, I'm in the wrong book. Sorry. Sirach. Sorry, Sirach. Ecclesiasticus, Sirach, chapter 13. And it reads, separate thyself from thine enemies and take heed of thy friends. Again, he's calling on us to have a strong quality of discernment to be able to identify those that bear witness of his spirit and keep his word, right? Because we are amongst wolves, those that seek out to devour and steal and destroy, those that still worship the God of this world. And the God of this world has a perverse spirit, but he has called us to light, to follow him because we hear his voice. And others are going to be deceived by the God of this world. And once the God is thrown down of this world, then righteous rulership will be in that place. So separate thyself from thine enemies and take heed of thy friends, right? Let's go and grab Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. He says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether and wiped away. These people, these wicked anti-messiahs, 2/3 of our people, and the heathen nations, all of the heathen nations, they may have the appearance of trying to befriend you and so on and so forth, but inward they are ravenous wolves. They look to overthrow and chant and bring you back into wayward philosophies. He says, let no one take thy crown, which means let no one defile you with other indoctrinations and false philosophies, but stay fast to what you have hold. And no matter what happens, continue to be that pillar of strength and that light of wisdom that stands on righteousness, because 100 will fall at the coming of just one, roughly paraphrasing. So again, I pray that this message was edifying to the elect. And again, it's high time for you to wake up out of sleep and separate, because there's much judgment going on in the earth. This is not time to grab hold of each other's hand and sing kumbaya and pray for peace for the world to somehow regain balance. It must be totally brought to a low and a halt, because this is the word. This is the word. He is coming to send a sword and much judgment. So with that, I pray this was edifying to the elect, the Wada Abanawa Yahweh, for another opportunity to push forth your word. Until next time, Shalom.